Hey guys, I wanted to jump on and take you through a little bit of a brew day. Today is the DKN brew day. This is for Brewtubers yeast experiment. So we have 3 experiments going on right now. One of those, the first one starting, is Dropkick Nate, and we are putting a spit on it. It's Kviek. So drop Kviek Nate. I don't know total how many guys are there. I think it's like 8, 9, 10 of us brewing this. And then we're all using a different Kviek strain. So I'm actually using Berserker from Maniacal Labs. So I thought I'd take you guys through a little bit of the brew day. We'll see how much footage I can get as we're going through. I was supposed to brew yesterday. This is Sunday afternoon, but unfortunately I didn't end up having time yesterday. But good day for it today. Ended up being a beautiful day yesterday, and I worked 2 jobs and didn't get home early enough from my second job. And today is a rain day, so ends up being not a lot of time to work in the yard. So thought I'd get this in and kind of take you along. So a couple of updates here as we move along here. So again, I do have water. So what I've decided to do is I didn't end up taking a piece of plywood and painting it. I ended up having a piece of laminated board. It's like a shelf you'd buy at Home Depot type of thing. So let me see if I can flip you around here and kind of show you a little bit. So give me just a second. So I've got this. This will be the first day with, or the first brew with everything kind of put together now. So I have water in the brew house. I'll give you a quick snapshot of what we're doing. So this is for my system. It's a 5.5 gallon batch. Again, DKN. That's the Kviek, however you want to say it. I'm using Berserker. So it's 8.5 pounds of pale raw 2-row and 2 pounds of Bonlander Munich. And then we have, it's probably easier to go here. For my system, that's going to be 8.5 gallons, just over 8.5 gallons of water. That is distilled water. We're working up to a profile. I'll see if I can't get that, what the numbers are for you. But we're matching Nate at Under the Table Brewing, his water in Georgia. So we're all using distilled water and then matching his water profile. So it's got a half ounce of Eldorado at 60 minutes. I have my brewing salts in there. Then nothing else goes in until 1 ounce of Galaxy at 5 minutes. And then we're going to chill to 170. And then we got a Whirlpool of 1 ounce each of Galaxy and Eldorado. Then we'll pitch. I'm going to be pitching, probably holding it at 85. From what I've read on the Maniacal Labs, looks like this works pretty well in that 85 to 90 range. And then we are going to, once fermentation's done, we're going to dry hop with 1 ounce each again of Galaxy and Eldorado for 7 days. And then we will keg and package, and then we'll be shipping these off to Nate. Nate is the hub for us for this one, and then we'll be getting those back. Again, I think it's somewhere in that range of 7 to 10 guys who signed up for this experiment. So we'll each get to try the same beer. Shooting for 1052. And I'm guessing at that 10-12 mark. Problem with Kviek yeast, you just don't know where they're going to ferment out to. So I'm thinking somewhere in that 10-12, 10-14 range. So we'll see where that ends up. So the system that I'm using is kind of modeled after Brew Easy, and I've stolen different things from that's the same type of strainer you see on the claw hammers. So once I get everything set up here, I'll give you a quick run through, but basically that's my mash tun up top and then the brew kettle down below. That's a 15-gallon kettle and that's a 10-gallon kettle. And then I've got the Blickman Tower Power, bought that secondhand off of Bradley at Portly Gentleman. And then I've got a Riptide pump down here at the bottom. So give you a quick run through the system as we get rolling for the day. And once I get water in, salt's going, and they start heating up, I can give you a quick run through of how the system works. But hoping things go well, hit my numbers or get close to it, and then we'll see how things are going. So I know a couple of guys brewed yesterday on Zoom, already have their yeast going, and they're moving along. So I want to jump in and get mine going today as well. So we'll catch you here as the brew day goes along. I'll try to get footage of the whole brew day and have a full video for this week. All right, guys, we'll catch you in a few. All right, so I've got my water in, so that just over 8.5 gallons, targeting 160 from my strike temperature with a mash of 152, so we're just starting to climb now. So to give you kind of idea of what we have, basically I have that bracket, my mash tun will sit on top of it, that's the cap that the mash tun goes to. I got just a sprayer there. Again, I'm making my own claw hammer design basically as it goes through a recirculation, so it'll come out the bottom of the kettle, goes down through the Riptide pump, comes back up through. I have that flow meter right in there. Again, that little red flow, I'm not sure if I've ever shown you before or not, I can change on the riptide my flow. So if I back it down, let's go, you'll see it start to drop here. There it goes. I can adjust my flow to whatever I want it to be. So it's nice for mashing. For right now, I'm just going at full volume, so that way I can get everything through the burner and just back up through. Nice little sample port on the side here. Nice when you're going through, you can take samples if you want to, pH samples, that type of stuff as it's going through. And then once we hit that strike temperature, I'll take that off, put my mash tun up in there, my grains in it. I'll attach that top right here with this cam lock to the bottom of the mash tun. I'll do a underlet into the mash. We'll mash in, let it sit for the hour, and then we'll let it sparge. And I'll show you that system as we go along here. It's basically a recirculation, so it'll come out of the mash tun, back into the boil kettle, and then out of the boil kettle, and then back around up over the top of it. So it's just a gravity-fed system going through. So, all right, we're up to 71, so we got a little ways to go with that. Got to get my salts together. I got my water running here, so I got a little bit of space, kind of nice with this. So right now I can run my water here if I need to do anything with that right now. Typically at this point I don't have any real cleaning types of things, but I have my water ready. Got a great idea. That's the output right there. Gary at Main Brew Guy had an idea. I've been letting that water just dump out into the back. He had an idea of put a T on the back side of that and then run a hose off of that T, or even just a 90 to a hose, and be able to run that hose. So basically right back behind all of that as it runs down my brew house are all of my blackberry bushes, raspberries, my hops are down there. I can use that and water right out of it. So I think it's a great idea, Gary. Thank you very much for the idea. That'll be a job here in the next few weeks for that. So even at this point, I could even just put a bucket underneath it and catch that water and still be able to water hops and that type of stuff. So reuse it. That's the best I can do as we're going through. I try to reuse any wastewater I can use, so I'm not wasting it. Same thing with my chilling. I'll show you today. I try to make sure I'm not wasting chilling water as well. So, all right, enough jabbering for a few minutes. We'll get you guys rolling here. Hopefully we'll catch some grain crush, get my salts in, and get ready to roll. All right, we'll catch you guys in a few. So I thought I'd jump on quick and just give you a heads up. So again, this is distilled water. So those are my numbers there of what I had to add into to get to that water profile. So those are the numbers that Nate has at his local water, and we're using distilled water and building up to this profile. So that's what I had to add to get into that, and that's what that is there. So I'll add that into my mash strike water there. So we're up to almost 120, another 40 degrees to make there. So I'll add that in. I get my grains crushed here in a second, and then we should be getting much closer to mash-in time. Just wanted to give you a heads up of what the water profile is as we're going into it. So, all right, guys, we'll catch you in a few. All right, there's the grains. So this is 8.5 pounds raw two-row pale and 2 pounds of Bonlander Munich from Breeze. We all got this from Beer and Wine Hobby. That's our sponsor for the Brewtubers Club. Nice thing about them, and I haven't seen this at other places, is when you order your grains, you can do a couple different things. You can have your grains into separate bags. Since I was making this all at one time, this is just all together, so they bagged it together. And you can also go buy portions of a pound. So this was 8.5 pounds. That's what I ordered, was 8.5. Typically it's by the pound, so then you'd have to have this measured out. You'd get 2 different bags, one with the Bonlander and one with the Roar, half a pound of the Roar I'd have to take out because you would have had to get 9 pounds of it. So it's really nice that they offer that. It definitely makes my life a lot easier. I can just take this entire bag, throw it in my mill over here, and away we go. So give them a shot. It's www.beer-wine.com. Huge thanks out to our sponsors. It's been awesome. Gennaro there has been an awesome guy to work with. There's been a couple of items that they didn't carry. We made a quick email, phone call. He was within days of having it in stock for us going through this. So if there's something there that you don't see on their website, shoot them a quick email, let them know. They're really good people. And it's, you know, in this time with COVID and everything else, they're a small business. Want to try to support the small guys as much as we can to keep them open. We don't have a lot of them around. So if you have the ability to support your local homebrew shop, definitely do that. If you don't have a local homebrew shop, this might be a great option for you. I will try to link them in the comments below here so that you have the direct website. You don't have to worry about plugging that in. I'll put it in there for you so you guys are all set. All right? All right. I'll get grinding grains in. We'll get rolling. All right, so this is after one crush. I do a double crush on my grains. What I've found is with the screen that I'm using, let me see if I can pull that screen out. With the screen that I'm using, I can go as fine of a crush as I want and get better efficiency. So I give it a very coarse crush the first time, and then I'll put that back through the mill with a much tighter gap. Let's see if you can see the gap there. And I'll tighten that gap up down to, I don't have feelers, so I can't tell you the exact measurement. Typically I'll use my credit card, what a lot of people will talk about as the gap for a credit card, but I'll typically make it pretty tight on that, or even a little bit less, so I can go pretty fine with it. As fine as I can get my mill to go, and then having that, I don't have to worry about it. Good stir, have good consistency. I don't have to worry about suck mashes, those types of things with recirculating, like if you're in a 3-gallon system, 3-vessel system. So, and then one other item I added, I stole this idea. I think Brian at Short Circuit and Bradley at Portly Gentleman came up with this idea. They were stealing stuff, so this is just the end of a pair of sweatpants my son wasn't using anymore, so I cut those off. Let me see if I can get a better shot, and then just stapled it up underneath, so it keeps the dust down. The dust definitely still is an issue at times, but that helps it kind of just keep everything in the bucket. So another one I've seen out there, Wally, has got a actual, like a cabinet, and it's inside the cabinet, and I think he has a vacuum poured onto it, so it really keeps all the dust down when he's in the house. So definitely ways to mitigate dust when you're milling grains. But beg, borrow, and steal from people, and maybe you've got a better idea even than that is. So if you do, throw it in the comments below. Always looking to upgrade and trying to improve processes. So just another thought. All right, so this is after the second crush, so you can see it is pretty stinking fine that you're able to get with that. So find that I get better efficiencies, and I'm doing a no sparge method, so it's full volume mash, and that is definitely one of those ones that you do take an efficiency hit. So by doing this, I find that I end up hitting my numbers back where it was when I used to do the batch sparging. So, you know, for a extra 3 or 4 minutes of running it through the mill a second time, and I have the mill here, so it doesn't cost me really anything, and I have time. So I find that it helps me get back to my numbers, and sometimes even exceed the expected gravity. So we'll see how we do today, but that is what I'm doing right now, is through that system. So, all right, we are checking my pH meter, getting that stuff set, so we're getting calibrated. We are almost to strike-in temperature, so we'll get that going, and I'll see if we can't get a video of the underlet and the mashing in. All right, guys, we'll catch you in a minute. All right, so got my grains inside my screen there. I'm hooked up, so my water is up to 160 there, and then what I've done is water will come out, down through the pump, up through the pump, through the flow system, and then up through, and we're going to underlet. So we will flip the pump on here, and she'll start moving water up to the mash tun. Let's see if I can get you. Yep, you can see it down below there. So we're going to underlet this, and what I'll do is I'll bring the water up probably somewhere right in that range there or so, and then I'll shut the pump off. It won't take all of the 8.5 gallons. It'll get close, but not all of it. And then we will give it a good mix, and then we'll start the recirculation. So water comes up pretty good, but gets all the oxygen or all the air out from underneath there by underletting it as it comes up through. So far, so good. Been a good brew day. So far, everything seems to be working out well. No issues. This is just the third time that I've used the system this way. So, oh, there comes water up over the top, so you can see it coming up through. So we'll get a mix in here as we're moving along. We'll let it come up, and then we'll get the recirculation going. And I'll catch you when we're doing the recirculation, so I'll show you how that works. So I thought I'd give you a quick look. This is what I use for my mash. And get a real good movement of the mash in here. Get a real good mix on it. Make sure I don't have any dough balls. I can get all the way to the bottom of the screen with that, and just basically, just like you're mixing up paint, you can do a real nice job getting everything real mixed up real well. I do this maybe 3-4 times during the course of the mash, maybe every 15 minutes or so. Just make sure I got a good consistency in terms of everything's mixing through it real well. But so far, so good. But again, that's what I use. Again, cheap and easy. If you got a drill, saves on a lot more and easier than having to use one of those. And I feel like I get a good mix on it. So, woodshed brewing is what we do. We redneck it. All right, guys, we'll catch you in a few here when we get the recirculation going. All right, so we got recirculation going. So that's basically a picture of the whole thing of how it works. So we have this set at about a 45-degree angle. So maybe it's I don't know, maybe half open or so. That recirculates back down in and recirculates back to the bottom. Then we've got this completely open, comes out, goes through the pump, back up through. Flow meter should be running. I typically keep it somewhere in that 1/2 to 3/4 range. You got to throttle it a little bit as the grains kind of settle in there. Back up through. Let's see, we're sitting at 152.8 with a target of 152. So it'll keep it within probably a 1/2 degree one way or the other, 3/4 degree one way or the other. This will cycle on and off. You'll probably hear the alarm here in a second. Turns, it's got I'm using natural gas, so it's off right now, but it'll flip the natural gas back on as it starts to drop. So it's below 1.158, so you're probably going to hear it here in a second. It's got an electronic starter. There it is right there. I'll show you. There comes the gas. It'll heat it up. So it lets it drop. So it kind of fluctuates between that 151 to a little over 152. So it'll stay fairly close, and it gets better as time goes on. And then up in the top, let's see if we can get a better look here for you. So that is coming back in over the top of my grain bed with this green there, and we just kind of keep an eye on that, making sure it doesn't get too much. So the game as you get started with this is the amount that is coming out going into there and the amount that the flow meter is showing. So right now I found, and it takes just a little bit of tweaking, I found right about there, I'll give you a better overhead shot, right about there with that gate valve there, and running right in about a 1/2, and she's dropped below a 1/2 gallon. So what I got to do is again, my flow control here is on this side of the Riptide pump. So let's see, we got a too much, bring her back down. So it's pretty delicate there. Back again, looking for that about 3/4. So if it can stay between 3/4 and a 1/2 gallon, it gets me right on where I'm supposed to be. So so far so good. I'm liking this system. Allows me to do a little bit bigger batches when I want to. If I want to do a smaller batch, I could do everything right in this and just pull the screen out and then just use this as my boil kettle, and I would just recirculate through this system, not into another kettle. So I have the flexibility of doing, if I want to do test batches of, say, 3-4 gallon batch, something smaller, I can do that. I can go all the way up to a double batch system, so that's 15. So I could go, you probably could put 13-ish in there for a boil. You'd be close to the top with that, so it makes it a little bit hard, but you could definitely do that, and then could have a 10-gallon batch coming out of that, something in that range. So I'm really enjoying having the system this way, so I can, a lot of flexibility, go up or go down. So so far so good. Gotta get a pH reading here. We're just a couple minutes into the mash, and then we'll see how things go. All right, I will catch you guys in a few. All right, so give you a quick update. We are just about finished with the boil. So I ended up at 5.5. Target was 5.4-ish, right in that range, and we are at 1.041 with our pre-boil gravity. I think 1043 was target, so we're within a couple of points either way of pH and our gravity. So we'll see how things go. So I'm using Brewfather. So I had 10.75 bricks on my refractometer, puts me at 1041. So overall, so far, cannot complain. Pretty good sample. Everything seems to be looking good. I'm recirculating. Gotta shut that off and let it drain out, and then we'll start heating up here to the boil. So far so good. I'm gonna call it success within a couple of points either way of everything so far. So we'll see how things go as we get into the boil. All right, catch you guys in a few. All right, so we've got the mash drained, all the excess, and then what I'm doing is just draining off whatever else is left. So I just basically take a hook from the ceiling, I pull the strainer up out of the pot. It's got a little catch on the side, so we can just take a little of the weight off of it. See down at the bottom, she's still dripping. So I really try to get as much of my losses as I can out of that. So I'll let that drain out while we're coming up to a boil. So the got the flame all the way up. She's heated up, or heating up as we go through. So I just hang my hoses like this off to the side. I'm going to need those as we recirculate. We're going to go into a Whirlpool, so I've got to have this all set up to be able to go, and we'll sanitize. And then what I've decided to do is I'm going to take my little tabletop there that I had sitting on top of the sink, and now we're going to get into this phase where we can start cleaning. I can just use this bench off to the side. I can still have my hops, everything over here ready to go, so it makes a nice little workstation over there. Keep all my stuff still pretty close. I can start cleaning, be able to use that and go through, and then the brew stand is right here. So it keeps everything kind of in pretty easy fashion. So just trying to figure out, the best situation in terms of trying to stay organized and efficient and not having to walk all over the place to go through it. So that's I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. So this is kind of my first time going through this with the tabletop here, or the works top stand, that type of thing, and kind of going through this. So far so good. Again, we are looking at currently, what are we at? Looks like about 6.25 gallons in there, maybe 6.5, somewhere in that range. Now I still have what's left in there in the bottom dripping, so I'm looking at probably, I'm going to guess maybe between 1/4 and 1/2 gallon in there. So we'll have to get an idea here as this starts to come up towards hot break. I'll just give it while it's heating up until the hot break. I'll let this mash tun drip out, and then I'll pour that right back into it. So I'm thinking it'll end up pretty close to that 7-gallon mark. And then looking at boil size, looks to be 7.05. So I'm thinking I'm going to be pretty darn close. End of boil, he's calling for 6.5, so 6.5 gallons. And then I got a Whirlpool, so we'll have some losses in there with the hops and that type of stuff. So I believe into the fermenter, I believe we're supposed to have 5.5 gallons. So we'll see as time goes along, but so far so good. I'm happy with everything so far. The numbers are pretty close. 1052 is what we are targeting as our final gravity after boil. So we're 1041 right now, so we'll be close. I may have to bump up my boil just a little bit, but that will knock down my overall volume. So we'll have to play around with it and see where we end up. So hopefully things stay along where they're supposed to. All right, guys, I will catch you here as we get into the boil and try to catch a couple of hot drops for you. All right, so I just finished the dripping in the mash tun. I ended up actually over with my volume, so I've collected almost 8 gallons there. I know it's maybe a little bit difficult to see, but it's probably 7.9 or something like that. So the mash tun's completely empty. Put that back into that. So I've collected everything. No losses in this really whatsoever other than the grain absorption. So we're a little bit high on our volume. May check again and see. That could be a reason why I'm not exactly on at my 1043. but that means I probably can then hit the boil a little bit more vigorous and be able to boil off a little bit more, and maybe I'll get closer to that 1052 mark. So so we started at 8.56 with our strike water going in, and that was the absorption in the grains, and the, what was it, 10 pounds of grains, just a touch more than 10 pounds of grains, 10.5, so 10.5 pounds of grains. We end up with a loss of a little over a half gallon of water, somewhere in that range. So far so good. That's the nice thing about being able to take that pot and be able to drip all of the grains out. So that's sitting outside, so that's fully emptied out now, and then got all the wort out of it, and we're just starting to get some foam on here. So hot break is starting to come up here a little bit, so we will see how things go along. I'll get probably do another check here of my gravity, just make sure I'm on at that 1041 range, and then I'll let you know where we're at. All right, so I thought I'd come back here quick and see. I don't know if I'll be able to do this or not, but I try this sometimes. Maybe. It's always a pain. All right, there's a pretty good look at it right there. I'm calling that 12.25. Darn it, missed it. So I'm calling that 12.25. When I put that into Brewfather, 12.25 puts me at 1047. So I'm actually, let's see, 4 points above where I should be with higher volume. So right now I'm having real good efficiency. So again, that's just below 7, or just below 8, excuse me, in total volume. 1047 pre-boil. And we've got a 60-minute boil yet to go. So we were supposed to be 1043, so we were above our numbers. So we'll see as time goes along. But that was, I checked before I'd had all the wort into that, and kind of really good mixed up, and really, when I pour it in, it really mixes it up well and makes sure that you got a good emulsion of everything there. So instead of just taking it from the top or from the bottom. So we'll see how things go along here, and then where we end up at the end. All right, there we go. See, ½ ounce of El Dorado. So we just hit our boil. So I've got it down fairly good. I don't want to boil off too much. So here's our first top drop. All right, 60-minute clock starting now. All right, we are through the boil. We are at 170. We're holding right there at 169, 170. What I've gone to, and again, that's the alarm, getting that turned on, keeping up 170, is hop utilization. You know, you typically use a hop spider. This is what I'm using for my grain basket. But what I've found is I'm not sure, and I don't know if I have anything other than just what I think, is I don't know how much the wort gets through that hop spider. So I've gone to this with my Whirlpools to get a little bit more hop utilization. So this is 1 ounce of Galaxy, 1 ounce of El Dorado. This is going to Whirlpool for 30 minutes, sitting at 170. So then we'll chill, and then pitch 1 tablespoon of Berserker Kviek in at about 85, 90 degrees or so. All right, we will catch you in 35, 40 minutes at pitching time. All right, so we have Berserker. That is a slurry. I'm going to take a sanitized tablespoon of slurry. And then we're going to dump that right in the bottom. So that is all starch sand and sanitized. And then what I'm going to do is take the pump. It's still whirlpooling. We're at 87 degrees. I've shut the chiller off. The pump is still running, so I'm going to then just take it and pump it right into there. So I will come right back once I get that done. I need 2 hands to do it. All right, so I'm pumping right from the kettle out through there, up through, and then back in. I'm basically aerating it like this as well. So I don't have an aeration stone. So I've got that tablespoon of Berserker yeast in the bottom of that, aerating and mixing it up all at the same time. I'll get an airlock on this. I'll put it in the firm chamber, and we'll come back with our final details. so I have an idea what we got. All right, we've got the yeast pitched. We ended up with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5, looks like about 5 1/4, maybe just below that, 5 1/4 gallons of, I believe, let's see if we can get in close and get this to, that's got to spin on me, of course, right? So let's see here. Come on, focus, will you? There we go. I'm looking at 1052 thereabouts. I think I got to have a little temperature correction on there as well, though. I believe that is it's still in the 80s. So looking at a correction temperature, I'm gonna say it's not +3, it's +2, so I'm gonna call it 1054. I will adjust if we need to, but I believe it's 1054, so plus a point off of what we were supposed to be. So it is, let's see here, terrible camera work here. So 5 o'clock on the 11th, we'll see, that's been in there maybe 15 minutes. It's running at 81 degrees right now. So I've got my heating pad down below on high. I've got it set for 85 for a high, so I'm going to let it kind of naturally come up to that point, and we'll see where we end up with it. So, all right, we will try to get a little video here as fermentation kicks off. All right, there is DKN. Go sit down and take a sip, do a little review of it, and then we will see what we think. All right, guys, give a review to this. How to finish up our grain to glass here. So this is dropped Kviek Nate. So color-wise, I think it's pretty good. I think a lot of the guys I've seen are a little bit darker than this. I think it's a very pretty looking beer. Obviously very hazy. Get a little closer look for it. Super haze. Cannot see through at all. Just milkshake type of color. I chose the Maniacal Labs Berserker. So I decided to go based off of some of the things I've read online. If you stress the yeast, you get more of the character out of it. So I did 1 tablespoon of yeast slurry that I had built up, but it was not in a starter. So I didn't do like a vitality starter or anything like that. So basically I built the starter up, crashed it, decanted it, put it in a ball, like a canning jar. Let that sit with just some distilled water over the top of it, kind of clear out for, better part of a week or 2 probably. And then 1 tablespoonful, just not a heaping amount, just a full tablespoon, and then put that into the fermenter. Took about 20, probably closer to 36 hours, just kind of looking back at my notes, 36 hours to get going to show signs. And then after that, it went nuts. About 3 or 4 days, it was done. Had a blow off. I had a 1.5 gallon headspace in the fermenter I used. I used a big mouth bubbler. And that's a 7 gallon, I think it was, and 5.5 gallons in the fermenter. And it blew off, had krausen coming out everywhere. I hadn't checked on it in a day and went out, and it was a mess. So the stats on the beer, I ended up with a 1054. I think it's actually a couple points over. So just looking at the notes that we were supposed to have, it was estimated at 1052. Final estimated at 1010. I ended up at 1012. So put you right there in that ballpark. So ended up being right where I was supposed to be. 2 points better than estimated and 2 points higher than final. So can't complain about that. Again, it was all distilled water. It was Pale 2-row by RAR, Bonlander Munich. And you guys have seen this all in the videos gone through. So, and then the salts to match up to Nate Pico's at Under the Table Brewing, his water in Georgia. So we'll get a little nose on it. I'm getting hops off it, not as much as I thought. Galaxy and Eldorado, I thought I'd get a more pronounced hop aroma. I'm getting like a light citrus is there. It's not a punch in the face though. There's definitely a yeast nose there. I'm having a hard time putting my finger on it. I'm not like blown away with this beer like it's awesome. It's gotten better with some age. I've had it. I actually should have shipped it this week. I gave it the week because I just wasn't super happy with it. I didn't want to send it into the experiment and not have a beer that was at least, you know, it's going to be shared out to 8 other guys. I want to make sure it's at least a decent beer. Probably going to grade out fairly low, but I think it's got some, I don't know if I stressed that yeast too much and I should have done it with a starter. I'm not sure, but it's got some yeast in the nose and I just can't put a descriptor on it. It's just something's there. Cilantro, you guys. And I get that same yeast character in the taste. It follows through. Same thing. I guess the best way to describe it that I've been able to come up with, almost like a lager yeast character when it's super fresh, that hasn't lagered for a while. I don't want to call sulfur, but it's, and I'm having a hard time putting it there. There's a hop aroma that's in the nose. There's a hop character there in the flavor. I mean, it's a fine beer. I have no problems with it. I've brewed this before straight from Nate's recipe and loved it. Been awesome. So this is a yeast thing, which is the cool part of this experiment. You kind of find out which yeast you like. So there's a bunch of Monaco Labs in there. I think Imperial's got a couple of the Kviek yeast the guys are using. We'll kind of see as we go through it. So I'm, again, supposed to have shipped to Nate by today. I've been kind of sitting on it because a couple other guys were a little bit behind. So I figured I had a little bit of time to get it there and just see if that yeast character would drop out a little bit with a little age in the keg. And had a kind of a week and a half I could kind of play with a little bit. So I'm not sure. It's a hard, I think there's an off flavor there, and I think it's a yeast off flavor, but I'm having a hard time putting my finger on exactly what it is. I'm interested to see some of the other guys that have more experience with this, especially with these yeast, to see if that's something that they pick up on as well. So had a great time with the experiment. Looking forward to getting the other beers. Looking like probably about a week from now, 10 days from now, everybody will have their stuff into Nate, and then he'll be shipping everything back. But I can't say thank you enough to all of our sponsors, 5 Star Chemical, Imperial Yeast, and Beer and Wine Hobby. Been awesome to help the club out, to be able to do experiments like this. We've got this one. There's a Saison one that's still open if anybody's interested. And Hopsteiner has given us a ton of hops to give out. Oh, excuse me. Apologies. So people that sign up for these experiments, you just go to brewtubers.com and look at the experiments page. The next two, there's a Belgian and the Saison. The Saison's coming up soon, but it's still open. There's time if you wanted to sign up. They're talking about somewhere in the range of a pound of hops possibly for free you're going to get in the shipment. So, you know, it costs you to ship the beers to a location, to the hub. I'm actually the hub for the Saison. So you'd be shipping the beers to me, and I would be repacking a beer of each of the brewers. And then also hops from Hopsteiner are going to go back in that package and come back to you. So when you look at that, cost-wise, it may end up paying for itself depending on how many hops are going to be there. Last I'd seen, the talk was Hopsteiner was going to provide 15 pounds of hops, and I think they're actually up into the 30-pound range now. So I'm not sure if they had extra hops to give away or what it is. So you sign up for a couple of these experiments. If you sign up for the Saison or the Belgian, there'll be a lot of hops coming back in that the box of beers coming back to you. So might be worth your while. Would love to have you part of the club. If you're not part of the club, be interesting to check it out. Club meetings the first Friday of the month. You can come to one for free. Check us out, see what you think, without having to pay. After that, you'd have to be a member to join in on the meetings, but you're free to come to one if you're interested. There's a Discord channel. There's a lobby there that you can find a lot of different information about and kind of find out what type of guys we are. Great group of guys to get information from, to chat with, and talk about brewing. So again, thanks Nate Pico for the recipe. Thanks to Brewtubers to put it together. Again, all our sponsors, thanks to you guys, and be looking forward to how this turns out. So I'm hoping this turns out is a little bit more age. It gets better. Like I said, it's a fine beer, but I'm not blown away with it. I was hoping for more. So again, I don't think it has anything to do with the recipe or hops or anything like that. I think it's a yeast thing, and I think I stressed it too much, and it's got a little bit of an off flavor. So I'd love to do it again and make a starter and see what the difference is. So maybe I think I got more hops. I may end up doing that. So maybe split back, do something like that. So if you hung around with me this long, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks to all those new viewers I've had and the subscribers, closing in on 300, which kind of crazy. And I just started this last July, so it's less than a year. So listen to me ramble and go on and stuff like that. So thanks to everybody that leaves comments. I appreciate it. Continue to like and subscribe. Appreciate all the information and the community you create with asking questions and talking and learning from other people and things that people have done to get better at the craft. So hope everybody's having a good one. Happy Mother's Day. That's this weekend. To all the moms out there and wives that put up with us brewing and all this babbling about beer. So hope everybody's having a great weekend. Woodshed Brewing. Sláinte, you guys.
All right, morning guys. Want to give you a quick update on where we're at. So this is the DKN drop Kviek Nate. That's my information over there on the left hand side. So gravity, pre and post final gravity, hop schedule with what we had. That is the water. Put my finger out of there. Sorry. Water calculations. That's what we were matching. That is again Nate's water calc from Georgia. This is what I had to add in. It was distilled water. So give you a quick update. So we are now in cold crash. So I dropped down to 34. We've already done our dry hop. That was a 7-day dry hop. So we are looking like that right now. Quick little hack. I don't know if you guys have anything like this. If you've got this at the bottom, let me get this right. So you've got that little spigot, your trub will grow up on the bottom. If you put something on that on the bottom, it just keeps it slanted so the trub stays away from that, so you're not pulling a bunch of it in. So something to think about. So I am in cold crash right now, so planning to keg it probably tomorrow or Monday. This is Saturday morning. This is the 24th. They've actually moved the date for the hub back 1 week. Had a couple guys that ended up having to brew a little bit later, so we're going to be shipping the week of the 1st through the 7th of May. So get it kegged this week, get it force carbonated, and then hopefully get a tasting of this. Probably be the next thing you guys see is a quick tasting video. So we'll do a little grain to glass with this. So that is basically where we're at with all of those. Just wanted to give you an update where we're at now. Here is we're 10 days, 2 weeks into this. So all right, hope everybody's doing well, and catch you probably a couple of days and we'll do a tasting video.